Imagine if you had no anxiety. Imagine how much more peace you would have in your life and how much easier it would actually be to operate at your highest capacity. I want to talk to you boys today about how God is healing the anxiety within me and what I'm doing to actually overcome it in the way that God tells us to manage anxiety. So Lord, just thank you so much for bringing these men here today. I just pray that you give me wisdom that's not from me, but that's from you. Wisdom that can speak into their situation and that can help them start to see the things that are causing them anxiety. Because as we're about to talk about, anxiety is not the real problem. Anxiety is just the response. But there's a deeper rooted cause. There's an altar that we're worshiping that's causing us to feel anxiety as a response. So I pray that you help them to see. I pray that you expose the altars that are causing anxiety in their life, and that they can bring those to you to be destroyed, and that you can provide them with peace, clarity, and direction so that they can show up as the man that you've created them to be. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Amen, boys. So I really thought for the longest time I had killed anxiety, done. When I first started my personal development journey, there was a lot of personal awareness, self-awareness, emotional awareness. It was very much so self-improvement based. God was not necessarily at the center of everything. So I started getting into journaling and meditation, and one of the biggest areas in my life I had anxiety about was work. And the reason I found out through journaling and meditation was that I was so worried about coming up short and not meeting the bar, some hypothetical bar that I had actually set for myself. I hadn't even had a boss come in and say, this is the standard and you're not hitting it. I just always felt like I was coming up short. I never knew if I was enough. And that was because of these self-imposed standards that, frankly, I wasn't doing enough, that I always had to do more. So when you can never get to a place of you've done enough, your work is good and sufficient, it always feels like there's a gap, there's a lack. And I found myself always striving to get to a place where I could fill in the void of what I hadn't done to earn being accepted, to earn being good, and people being grateful for what I did. So when I started to realize that, I switched my mindset into a place of, okay, I know what I'm fully capable of, and every single day I'm going to be very intentional about showing up as my best. I'm going to give my best every single day, and if I know I gave my best today, then I can rest in peace because I know that's all I can do. The rest is in God's hands. The rest is, I'm at the mercy of my bosses, the corporation, whoever else is in control. And if things don't work out in the way that I'd like them to work out, or if I get fired or something that sounds like it wouldn't be the best thing for me from my perspective, I'm okay with that because this obviously isn't the best opportunity, and there's going to be something better. There's going to be a place where people appreciate me for what I'm able to bring to the table. And once I got through that anxiety related to work, I was like, I'm good. I don't really have any anxiety anymore, until lately I started realizing that I almost feel like I'm operating at a 10% constant anxiety. It's always like this little bit of anxiety that exists as I go through my days. And as I started to reflect on it more, because I think for such a long time I had this denial of not actually experiencing any anxiety anymore. And when we deny something, when we're not willing to be super honest and truthful and look at ourselves and acknowledge ourselves and observe ourselves, then we actually don't end up realizing the things that are truly holding us back. But when I started doing that from a lens of where is there anxiety in my life, I started seeing that, yeah, day to day, I almost have like a little bit of anxiety with me throughout the whole day because I'm always thinking about what do I have to do next, or I'm always worrying, am I going to get the post out on time, or is the post going to perform, or am I going to have good clients, good guys come into the team, or is this going to create value for people? Am I heading in the right direction, right? I have big goals for my business, real big goals. I want to help over 100 men this year. I want to help hundreds of men a year. And with that, when my impact is right, I know financially there will be fruit. And I have a desire. I almost feel bad for saying it, and it's just because I have this limiting belief, or not limiting belief, but I have this idea that talking about wanting to make a lot of money like makes me materialistic and is like a bad thing, and it's like a character flaw, which is not true. But yeah, I'm on the road to building $1 million, multi-million-dollar business. That is my dream, and I don't want it purely for the money. I'm not going to lie and say I don't want the money. Of course I want the money for different reasons, but I want to build something that is worthy of that amount of financial success because of the impact it's having. And so I'm in my second year full-time in the business, online coaching, and it's probably the hardest thing I've ever done. Most of the things I've done in my life, academics, athletics, even in the gym, especially in the gym actually, it's very much so you put in a certain amount of effort, and for the most part, you get a return on it. It's pretty easy to understand, like, if I put in this quantity, I will get this quantity out. And entrepreneurship is not like that. This has been hard. It's been challenging. I've questioned, am I supposed to do this? I've questioned, am I doing the right thing? Am I speaking about the right topics? How do I talk to the right men? How do I get good guys into the program? Not that are just willing to pay me, but who are actually going to come in and see their lives radically transformed. And it's been this wrestling with God and this wrestling with the process and the business. And it's brought me into a place where so often I'm experiencing anxiety because I have imposed this pressure on myself that things have to perform a certain way. They have to be done a certain way. I need to hit certain KPIs. I need to make X amount of dollars, help X amount of clients, and there's always been there's been like this underlying anxiety about, like, is this enough? Is this right? Should I be doing something else? Is this the best way to do it? Did I make a mistake there? Am I wasting my time? Am I running in circles? And I feel like I was reading, and I've known this verse for a long time, but as I started to look for the anxiety to see where it actually came from, I started focusing on this verse from Philippians 4:6, and it says specifically, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, with gratitude, present your requests to God. And so as I started to see the anxiety that I was feeling throughout my day, I knew anxiety is not from God. I should be able to operate in a place of peace. That doesn't mean things aren't going to be hard or challenging, but I should be able to operate in a place of peace where I know things are going to be okay. And I started to see that there was an altar. And what I mean by the altar is there was a cause. I was placing so much importance on, like, a post performing, or I have to get X amount of new clients by this date, or I have to make X amount of dollars by this date. I was placing so much importance and focus on these things. They were controlling my emotions. They were starting to make me have a lot of anxiety day to day. And when I say it was an altar, it's because an altar has a position of almost superiority. It's like you come down to your knees and you worship whatever is on the altar. And God should only be God. The only one who should be the center of my worship is God. And so if something is controlling my emotions, or I'm trying to control the outcome that something I'm doing is creating, I've created an altar. I've said this thing is more important than what God says about me. He says to be anxious for nothing. But I've made this thing an altar because it's causing me anxiety. And so I had to start releasing everything that I was holding on to. All the expectations, all the pressure, and just allow myself to operate in a place of peace. I wanted to get to this place where I truly, it says in Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways submit them to Him. Everything I'm doing, submit it to God. That means give Him control, and He will make your path straight. So that's what I've started to do. I've started to pray, like it said in Philippians 4:6, be anxious for nothing, but in everything make your requests known to God with praise and thanksgiving. Bring your petitions to Him. I've started to pray through these things. I've started to pray through my day. One of my asks is, Lord, help me to walk in tune with your Spirit. I know if God is guiding me through a simple task, literally as simple as like writing an email or sending a DM, having a conversation, making a post, making a YouTube like this right now. Even as I'm sitting here saying this YouTube, recording this YouTube, in the back of my mind, it's like, oh geez, am I saying the right things? Oh man, I just stuttered. Should I be getting to the point quicker? Am I being clear enough? But if I surrender that to God, like we see in Proverbs 3:5-6, if I submit in all my ways, I submit to Him, He's going to make it straight. He's going to make my path straight. And I want to operate in that peace. I want to walk in tune with the Spirit. I want to let God breathe into every single thing that I'm doing. Because like I said, that doesn't mean we're not going to face challenges or things aren't going to be hard. But it does mean that there can be an ease about what I'm going through. And you can find that too. And what this also, this observation of my anxiety has shown me is I'm focused too much on the destination. I'm focused on outcomes. So every single thing that I do, I'm worrying if it's going to get me to a specific outcome or not. And if it doesn't get me to that outcome, that reinforces the anxiety. But God is not worried about outcomes, because outcomes are in the future. God is just worried about the present moment. He's just worried about the process. And He will direct our steps. But the steps that we're making in the future, those are for the future. All we need to worry about is the steps that are being directed right now. What is the step I need to take right now? And I do that thing, and I do it to the best of my capacity, and I let go of the rest. It talks about in Matthew chapter 6, it says, do not worry about tomorrow, for sufficient for the day is its own trouble. And this just goes to show that the destination is not where our eyes should be focused. Our eyes should be focused on right now. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. So I'm going to try to do the things that I'm doing today to the best of my capacity. Just like with my job, I'm not worried about what people think. I'm not worried about whether or not I'm going to continue to hold the job in the future, or if they're going to fire me, or if they're going to promote me. I'm worried about showing up today. And I'm not even worried about it. I'm focused on it. I'm focused on showing up today, doing the best I can. And that's all that matters. And I'm going to continue to build a relationship with God and bring Him into all that I'm doing here. I'm going to invite Him in these places of worry. I'm going to invite Him into these places of stress and being overwhelmed. And I'm going to ask Him, help me to become the coach who can help 100+ men a year, who can run and operate a multi 7-figure business. Because what's required of me at that point is going to be more than what's required of me now. So how can I show up for my clients at that point the same way I'm showing up for them today? How can I show up for 100 guys the same way I'm showing up for 20 guys? God, make me into that man. Help me to become that man today. and I'm just focused on doing things better and getting better and trusting God, allowing Him to direct my steps, and just knowing it's all a part of the process. It's about becoming. With God, there's this process of sanctification. Sanctification is like the process of becoming more and more like God. The thing is, we will never be like God. We will never get to the level of God. So there is no destination. Getting to a place of being 100% like God, that is impossible for us. So there is no destination. There only is continual process, continual sanctification of becoming more and more like God. So as I step away from destinations and focus on just controlling what I can control, doing the small things day to day, and bringing everything to prayer, letting God breathe into what I'm doing, and then letting Him show me how to do things better, the anxiety starts to fade away. These things aren't carrying as much weight. There's not as much pressure. There's not a maker. It's not like a do or die scenario. It's just like, great, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I'm going to get better in the process. And that's all I'm going to focus on today. I'm not going to worry about anything else. And then tomorrow, I'm going to do it better, and I'm going to get better. And I'm going to continue to pray and lean in with God and bring the things that overwhelm me and stress me and cause me to be anxious to Him. So, fellas, the strongest man you could ever become is the man who's being led by God. If you're in tune with Him, you can hear from Him. You see Him directing your steps, right? It said in Proverbs 5:6, it says, Proverbs 3, 5 to 6, He will make your path straight. But if you can't see where He's guiding you, how is He going to make the path straight? You need to know where He's calling you to so that you can step straight and in tune with Him. And if you feel like you just can't get right, you're not in a place of consistency with God, or you've barely even leaned in with Him. You don't even know what it means to have a deep relationship with God. If you're not in a place where you're taking good care of your temple, you're not stewarding your body well, you're neglecting your physical health, you're neglecting your mindset, you're still stuck in vices, you're still stuck with distractions. You have a wife that you want to prepare for, you have a family that you want to lead someday, and you feel like you need help with that process, coming up with the structure, coming up with a system so that you can just take small steps daily and get better and become that man God has designed you to do. God has designed you to be. What you can do in the description of this video is a link to booking a call with me. What we'll do is we'll talk about exactly where you want to be, exactly where you are now, and everything that's holding you back. And I'll show you exactly what you and I could do through my one-on-one coaching to get you to that place. And if not, I'll at least point you in the right direction. But if it's a good fit, we'll rip, bro. So I want you guys to really observe yourself like a detective. Where do I experience negative emotion? Where do I not have peace? Because you should be able to find peace. There's joy in the Lord. There's peace in Him in everything we do. It's peace amidst a mist. I don't even know how to say that word. I think that's how you pronounce it. There's peace amidst the chaos. If God is in your heart, if you're connected with Him. So I just pray that you guys take the time, to sit down, to journal, to meditate, to look at yourself, to really uproot those negative emotions. Those negative emotions, those aren't the problem. Those are just the symptom. Those are just the response, but there's something deeper that's causing those. Bring those feelings to God. Talk to Him. He'll start to give you eyes to see what it is that's actually calling you, what it is that's actually causing you to experience those emotions. But other than that, boys, submit your life to God. What that means is you don't stop doing things, but you start bringing everything to Him. Everything to Him. And He's going to start opening your eyes. He's going to start showing you how to step in tune with His Spirit. And He will make you the most powerful man you could ever be. Let's go!